The countdown. I'm nervous. Oh my goodness. It's happening. We are live. Great.
Hey,
Hey.
we
Joining
did
me
it.
today is my friend and business partner, John Moran. John, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. I'm watching the YouTube live cast, so I need to mute it. Ralph Burns, the co-host of Perpetual Traffic, is on vacation. Somewhere fun, I don't know where. And so John is filling in once again. This is John. This is your second time on the show, right?
I know, I feel honored.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Well,
know,
people loved you the first time, so we thought we'd have you back.
yeah, yeah. I like the raving fans and the gift baskets and love notes I was receiving. It just, I had to come back.
Showering you with gifts. Yeah. So the first thing I want to say is, if you're watching live, the point of us being here is for you. So if you want to ask questions, if you have issues, if there's anything that you'd like to, touch upon, that's why we're here. You show up live so you can engage with us live. So please don't be a wallflower. Lob your questions across. We want you to direct the cadence of the conversation. The last couple of times, I think that's gone really well. John, so everybody knows, is a world authority in the space of Google and YouTube ads. There's nobody I know that's smarter in that. You're speaking at TNC this year, right?
Yeah, yeah. We have a breakout for smart shopping. Coming up next month, and so yeah, that's the main topic of that one. But it's funny, we have so many different clients. Like, I mean, we have like 140 different industries. So that's what's kind of cool is, anything about like, YouTube or smart shopping or anything like that is just, there's so much experience that we have with running the ads that pretty much any sort of questions about any industry, I've seen something or helped a client or helped a business owner do something. So, yeah, if anybody has any questions about, it doesn't even have to be Google Ads, just be traffic in general, the customer journey, anything that we want to discuss. We have a ton of experience. We do this for a very long time.
Yeah, so if you're watching, lob your questions in the chat. If you're watching on your mobile phone, you'll see a little chat icon under the screen. If you're watching on the desktop, it'll show up on the right-hand side as a chat pane. And while we're waiting for folks to trickle in and ask questions, John, my curiosity is, what are you excited about now? Like, what's the thing that's setting your hair on fire?
Definitely YouTube. It's I don't know why. I think with the whole paradigm shift of traffic,
I'm going to pause you there. What you really mean is the iOS 14 destroying Facebook, right? Like,
I love that.
yeah.
Yeah. It's like when you wake up and something that you've been waiting for a little while to like it's actually happening, and like you've been the crazy person in the room that's like, one day it's not gonna work, and all of a sudden it's starting to happen. You're like, wait a minute, like I kind of like don't want it not to work because that's like just horrible for tons and tons and tons of people. But everything that I've been focusing on, it's like, oh, it's just become so much better. So I'm selfishly excited.
Yeah, well, and with disruption comes opportunity, and we've talked about this a lot. Ralph's got a Facebook agency, and they've had to make some pivots, and I think they've done really well at doing that. I mean, he's a brilliant entrepreneur, so they've, found a way to in some ways, I think, make this work to their advantage. But some agencies weren't so lucky. I mean, we know some agencies that have had a very hard time pivoting.
Well, and that's the thing too, is it's not like the Facebook ads ecosystem for the experts has gotten worse for them. The people like Ralph and good Facebook agencies will, yeah, again, they're experts for a reason. They know what to do in the face of adversity. But for I think all of the other like kind of Me Too agencies, that's where this got a little bit more difficult. Where the land of milk and honey is not really there anymore, and you really have to know what you're doing. I think Brian Dice said that in like 2018. It's like now is the time where you really have to know what you're doing.
You have to be
and with a huge challenge like the iOS 14, if you're not an agency like Ralph, then yeah, you're in trouble. So, and I think that's what I kind of spoke maybe like out of turn, where it was not talking about Facebook in general, but I guess a lot of the agencies that just don't really know what they're doing, that were just kind of skating by with good enough that's
well,
just
they were
whole spot.
spoiled.
Yeah.
You ran some ads, you got some leads. How hard could this digital marketing thing be?
Yeah, exactly. It just doesn't cut it anymore. Your CPA doubling because of that. That's the end of a lot of agencies, and so yeah, that's but a lot of opportunities to pivot to different strategies.
So is YouTube the new Facebook?
It's seeming like it. We have a fairly large
It
client.
takes longer to ramp up, though. Like Facebook, I could have a campaign running, 24 hours later, we're turning and burning leads. YouTube is like you're in the learning phase, and then it's, I don't know. It's been frustrating that way for me.
Well, it's it's interesting. That's how it used to be. And now this last literally month and a half, it's my first day running a larger campaign recently. I think I spent 7 grand in the first day and got like 300 or 400 opt-ins. Like it was like the first day.
Wow.
Normally what happens with YouTube is it does take some time to ramp up because when it ramps up, you have to use maximize conversions first, get enough conversions, then switch over to target CPA, then gradually drop your CPA or TCPA. But what ends up happening is if you're using custom intent audiences, which I think a couple days ago, Google put out the how to be successful on YouTube, and it was like a 27-page white paper, and I read the whole thing, and they're right pretty much everywhere. But the one thing that they mentioned was that using custom audiences is something that is the right thing to do right off the bat, and I actually disagree with that.
Hmm.
That's where that takes the 7 days just to start to gain impressions and clicks at like a halfway decent level. So if you're running short funnels or you're running flash sales or running that, then you really have to know how to launch YouTube quickly. DSK used to be pretty set right off the bat, but it was fairly limited. Custom audiences were strong, but it took too long. So yeah, you have to kind of know exactly the right structure in order to get a short sale or a short funnel to. When I say short funnel, I mean like, hey, this webinar is going live in 10 days. Well, you can't sacrifice like 7 days of ramp up time if then you only get 3 days of real actual marketing. Um,
So let me ask you a question, dude. You and I ran a campaign earlier this year for a major thought leader, December, January time, and
yep.
we were in the approval stage for our YouTube ads for 3, 4 days, and then we were ramp up for 7, 8, 9 days. Knowing what you know now, was the issue the fact that we were going after a defined audience?
Yeah. Yeah. We tried custom audiences and DSK. Custom audience like never ran in.
Describe what DSK is for folks that
Oh,
don't know.
display search keywords. So they're actually called like DVK now. There's just display video keywords. Display video keywords are essentially what you do is when you build a campaign on YouTube, you give it a audience targeting of some sort, and that could be a similar audience, a customer list, or like news or even topics. There's another area called keywords, and keywords is what Google says, and what I would agree with, especially if you're running a very specific type of funnel, is using essentially search keywords in DBK or DSK, whatever you want to call it. Um, and DBK is essentially if Google can match that keyword with that user, it'll show the ad to that user. And the way that it matches a keyword with the user is, are you visiting websites that feature that keyword? Have you searched that keyword on Google? Have you written an email in your Gmail account that features that word, or received an email in your Gmail account featuring that word? Have you watched a YouTube video with the captions that have that word included? Because auto captions are generated from Google, and if it sees that word and you watch that video, they tie that back to you. So any which way, shape, or form that Google can tie that keyword back to you, that will include that person in your targeting if you're bidding on that keyword in a DSK or DVK type of scenario. So, giving an example, if you're looking at tires for your truck, and you go to YouTube and type in best truck tire, or best snow tire for my truck, or if you look at discount tire or something like that. Excuse me, getting over a cold, so I might cough a little bit through this. But if I go on YouTube, or sorry, if I go on my Google Ads and build a YouTube campaign, and I use best truck tire, best snow tire for my truck, those type of things, because you've been searching that recently, you never had to even have been to my website, or even technically never even had to search that on Google. You just had been researching it somewhere. That will target you with ads on YouTube. And you can actually use the YouTube Partner Network on videos to say, even if you're not even on YouTube, you could be on a homepage of a news network, one of the major news outlets, and you'll see a video ad playing there. Now, those play on mute and are kind of limited, so I wouldn't recommend doing that all the time. But you can find people based on just their recent activity, and choose bottom of the funnel type of keywords, and that way you can get to the person who is interested recently with a really relevant video. You just have to make sure that your CTA is something that they'll click on, and I think that's where the big target is missed by a lot of agencies. Is they'll run like generic type of videos or brandable videos, which are good, but if you don't have your CTA generating clicks, if your CTA isn't clickable, if it's just like, hey, you know this is it's like if it just says like, hey, this tire features this thing here, and this is really really great tire. Well, great. I mean, you educated someone, but you didn't give them an actionable call to action that they want to jump on now.
Hmm.
And Google learns off of clicks; they don't learn off of views and impressions. And I
And
think
it's
that
still
that's a big thing.
optimized for views and impressions, right? If you're looking for like a brand campaign, brand awareness, brand building, that type of thing.
Yeah, and you can do CPMs, but if you really wanted to use YouTube as a bottom of the funnel like opt-in lead generation or even sales tool, the click-through rate when it earns clicks and it gets conversions, that's when that thing just skyrockets. And you can run a 5, 10, 15, $30,000 per day budget. Set a good set a good CPA, and if you're starting to get some conversions, that will find people fast. And that's what's nice about that is the sky's the limit with what you want to pay, and that's what we love about it.
Here's the reason I'm asking this because if you really have a defined audience, like
Hmm.
Montessori schools, for example, um, ultra niche, and there was a way to segment that audience, wouldn't it make the most sense to just define the segment and say optimize for impressions, not for conversions, because I know who my people are?
Yeah, yeah. Then you would run around like manual CPV or target CPM. Manual CPV is like, hey, I know this audience here, and I want to just drip on them for a long time and educate them with maybe a video series. Like, you can choose video sequences and say, hey, I have these 4 videos. I'm gonna stick these 4 videos in a sequence so that I know everybody in that audience is gonna watch those 4 videos. So once they watch the first one, they get the second one. Once they watch the second one, they get the third one. And then say, I don't want to pay over like $8 CPM, which means I'm gonna get 1,000 impressions for $8, and then you can set impression caps and view caps and interaction caps as well. So
And
you can
what
say,
qualifies as an impression instead of YouTube? What's the second count?
well, an impression is did you see the ad? Even if you skipped it, that's technically an impression. A view is did you watch more than 10 seconds of it? Um, it used to be did you watch more than 30 seconds of it? Now it's did you watch more than 10 seconds of it? They actually reduced it. That technically counts as a view. And you want to have a view rate. A good engaged audience will give you a view rate of about 31.27%. That's the official like line there.
When did they reduce it?
Um,
'Cause I just shot a video for our YouTube channel talking about when you're getting billed, and I said 30 seconds, so I got to go fix that.
if uh, if I send something to you, can we share screens on this thing?
Yeah.
Sweet. Let me do this here. Let me send this to you. Okay, I just slacked it over to you. Okay, so if you go, this is the, excuse me, true view for conversions. If you look at, let me see if I can find it real quick because I remember where it was. It's like halfway down. There we go. It's page number 9.
Okay.
And then it says, did you know? An engaged view is now counted after 10 seconds of watching opposed to 30 seconds. So they just changed this. And this, I think, came out like a couple days ago.
Okay. Here's what I was concerned of. Advertisers still pay for the view after 30 seconds.
Oh, yeah. It counted as a view. Yep,
Okay.
sorry.
So from a data and analytics perspective, 10 seconds. From a billing perspective, it's 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still paid after 30 seconds, but now they count a view after 10 seconds. So what's funny is all of a sudden everyone's view rate just increased. And they're like, wow, all of a sudden our videos are just getting so much better.
So much better. I'm going to drop a link to this inside of chat, so if you're watching, you can have access to this.
Yeah.
I've been really impressed with Google's education recently. I think they've done a much, much better job.
Yeah, they've been great.
Yeah. So
I think that's probably because they saw a little bit of an opportunity there, and we're like, hey, why don't
we might as well capitalize on this. And it makes a lot of sense. Facebook is outbound interrupter, education based. There's a lot of opportunity for what would you call it? Impulse buys. Like to really get in front of folks, and that's what YouTube is. So what's nice is a lot of your infrastructure can stay the same. A lot of your infrastructure from a funnel perspective, a follow-up perspective, offers, CTAs, not all of it, because there's nuances that change and differ. I know, the campaign you and I were talking yesterday, you were referencing a large client that we're working for, and you were able to split test all the videos right out of the gate, and Facebook needed a little bit more ramp that way. So explain some of the nuances. Like if somebody were to migrate from Facebook to YouTube, what do they need to know before they get themselves into trouble?
One of the things that's a main difference is on Facebook, excuse me, your ad copy and video is tested as equally as important. On YouTube, it's a lot less ad copy dependent, I guess I would say. Your CTA you get 10 characters. Your headline you get 15 characters, and then you get a long description and a description, or long headline and a description that kind of act like a title and description when they're not in-stream skippables. But typically in-stream skippables, which is what usually performs the best, because it says, hey, regardless of what they're looking at or what they're doing on YouTube, we can get in front of them and interrupt whatever video they're looking for with a video. So in-stream skippables typically perform the best. But with in-stream skippables, there's not a lot of ad copy, because as soon as it starts, you're expecting to watch the video that you wanted to watch, and then you get interrupted with the in-stream skippable, and then you got the 5 seconds that you need to watch through before you skip, and that's the point where a user decides, okay, is this relevant and interesting to me, or am I just going to wait the 5 seconds and hit skip? No one looks at the video and says, I'm going to ignore the video and I'm going to try to find the call to action on the way bottom left and see what that is. The video is what really drives the entire ad. So ad copy is important. Like, you don't want to have like CTA goes here. Like, that doesn't make sense. Choose a really relevant call to action that's relevant to your video, but the video does, I would say, 95% of the work. So you can stick 15 different videos and in one ad group and have YouTube simply say, well, people watched more of this, they didn't skip it as often, they watched 25, 50, 75, 100% of this video more than any other video, and it just naturally rises to the top. And you can do that with a large amount of videos. I wouldn't go over 15 if you have a smaller budget. 5 to 7 seems to be like the sweet spot for average budgets, and that's if you're spending like $100 or $200 a day. But if you have a fairly large budget, you can stick 15 in there, and it'll optimize within like 1 to 2 days. And once it starts to see those engagements, it just skyrockets that video, and still tests other videos. You'll still get conversions on other videos, but you'll ramp up and scale with the good video. Facebook, on the other side, you have to test. I have 2 different videos, but then 3 different ad copies. Well, now that's 5 different ads. Excuse me. And now those 5 ads, you need to test. Okay, which ad copy is going to earn the stop, and then also which video do I like unmute and then hear the most of, and then that takes a little bit longer to test. So you can't stick 15 different ad copies and 15 different videos, because then you'll have 30 different videos, and then you have to have a crazy amount of budget. A really friendly thought leader in this in this space told me that you can test 15 different videos in one ad group with 15 different ad copy, but you're spending, no joke, 30, 40 grand a day. Then it will start to optimize. So excuse me. With Facebook, it does take longer to test, because ad copy is what is going to help stop the scroll. That's why, like, you have emojis and big bold and exclamation points, and you gotta have something crazy in order to stop that and say, like, oh, what's this? And then they watch the video, because otherwise it's like video, picture, video. On YouTube, it's not something that they're just flying through. They're stuck in one area ready to watch some video, and it's a TV commercial that they get first. So it's a lot more, I think, of a captured audience.
Yeah, so that's a really interesting point that I hadn't really thought of before. Facebook has something similar with their video views. I've seen basically in-stream skippable ads inside of the Facebook ecosystem, but it's not the default. Google, the default is the in-stream skippable, which, to your point, is a captive audience.
Yeah, I know you're not going anywhere. You're going to want to watch the video you want to watch, but you're going to...
No matter what, you've got 6 seconds to con this person into watching the remainder of the video, right? And I'm being tongue-in-cheek, really what you want to do is provide insane value right out of the gate.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I think we've all been there where you end up watching an ad, you don't even realize you're watching an ad because it's so good.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And that's why in movie theaters, or not movie theaters, the movie industry, they're running their trailers as in-stream skippables. And that happens all the time. Because, the other half is because people are watching YouTube on their TVs at home. So it's like, why not? And it's really true. The first 6 seconds, I always say, greed factor, unique value proposition, unique selling proposition, scarcity. Don't be obnoxious with it. But scarcity is a real sense of scarcity. Like, hey, this is a sale running for 7 days and 7 days only, whatever it may be. But that first 5 seconds, you need to attack someone's greed factor and a unique selling proposition, and that's just the most important. Everything else, in my opinion, is just secondary. If you start with like a logo sting and then like a slow intro, you're done.
Pan in over rolling fields.
Yeah, 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 like a voiceover narrative.
Well, so that's actually, it's a good segue because one of the things that I think holds a lot of businesses back is the fact that media creation is hard. How good do these videos have to be? Do we have to go hire Scorsese?
What's funny is and this is the same for the couple big brands that we market with. The walking talking head, just I don't know why. There's something about like starting with motion and someone talking to you is awkward to look away from because it's like, oh, I'm walking with this person and they're talking to me. I can't just like walk away. It's weird. It's like, you never been walking with a person and they're like, hey John, I gotta tell you something. You're like, bye. You never just walk away from a conversation like that. So those are great. I think lower budget videos that you can, especially if you could produce, 5 or 6 or 7 of them perform really good. Excuse me.
I've
There we
seen
go.
data to support the fact that, like you just said, videos that look more organic, look real, perform better. And now you have these major brands spending millions of dollars trying to figure out how to replicate that.
I know, I know. They have this like huge, just ninja camera like following a person with a sound studio and a guy with like a dead cat running, like with my headphones running after him. Yeah, and it's so funny. The handheld, the iPhones are just like, or the handheld cameras, they work well. And the funniest thing is, I've seen videos where I'm like, ooh, that's just not really going to work. But the hook in the beginning was just so amazing that earned the view rate,
Yeah.
and then that earned the click. And you can't earn a click without earning the view. And so you'll get an impression just because you're targeting a person, but you won't get necessarily a view. And if you don't get the view, you're never going to get the click. People don't just look and be like, oh, I got 5 seconds left before I can click the call to action. Like they need to watch something first. And so that's the importance of this. And I think that I'm gonna probably go against a lot of people in the industry, but regardless of your video quality, as long as it's not like dark room shaky camera and it's an echoey and you can't hear anything, regardless of just like horrible
Blair Witch
video.
projects.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, where it's just the eye and you're like, I have an offer for you. That might actually work. But if it's something that is a really good offer to a right audience, video, or I guess production quality is secondary to that, and that's really true. You don't need a professional studio. You don't need 100 grand in equipment. I've seen, you got the educators in the space that sell, business coaching or you name it, education, and they're sitting on like a park bench. And I've seen one recently where he's sitting on the park bench and he turns his camera on. He's like, "That's building is where I used to work. Before, I became free, and now I have all this money, yada yada yada."
Yeah, Dean
And
Graziosi's got one where he's sitting outside of a fourplex that him and his mom used to live in. And it's a really sad story. Like he slept on the bathroom or whatever, but he's like he's just a dude outside holding a camera.
yeah,
And that's way more compelling than, the ultra produced whatever.
I
Him and
think
his
it.
Ferrari.
I think it comes. I think it comes down to uh, relatability, if that's a word. Is that a word? It's gonna be a word
Yeah,
today.
well, no, so we've been acclimated to social engagement.
Hmm.
You want somebody to engage with you socially. And if they've got a $1 trillion production budget, you don't feel like you're actually there. You want to feel
Yeah,
like you're FaceTiming with them.
yeah. You never think, oh, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like if you're, it's good for like the you can be me's, but that's sometimes insulting. Um, it's almost like insulting someone's intelligence. Be like, you can sit here in this multi-billion-dollar or multi-million-dollar studio and educate other people the same way I am. Well, I don't want to do that. I just want to be successful in what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
And so the relatability of a video is everything.
What about length? Like, all the major thought leaders are like, oh, 60 to 90 seconds. That's the gold standard. You have to do 60 to 90 seconds. Where do you stand there?
It depends on the audience and the offer. Um, 60, 90 seconds is good. unless you're re-engaging or remarketing, or you have a second or third video in sequence, then it can be. We've had success with 2, 3, 4 minute videos. 40 and 50% watch rates with 2 and 3 and 4 minute videos, where you can look at the counter and Google Ads gives you a counter between, or it says how many percentage of the people that watch the video made it to 25, 50, 75, and 100% of the video. And you'll see that even on the 4 minute videos, you can get 25 and 30% watched all the way through 100% of the video of a 3 to 4 minute video if it's good content to a very relevant, engaged audience.
Yeah.
And
Billie Jean has a 13-minute video running right now.
Yeah.
An ad, a 13-minute video ad.
Yeah.
And I watched the whole damn thing. It was great.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is like if you're hitting the right target. Now, what's funny is with those longer videos, it's easy to trick yourself into thinking they're not working. Because if you get, let's say, just using round numbers, 100,000 impressions, 10,000 views, and you get 10% that watched it to the end, that's 1,000 people that watched the entire video.
Right.
You know, that's a big deal on a 4-minute video, 1,000 people. And you can remarket to them.
Your 25% basically became 100% for a shorter video.
Yeah, yeah. And so that's the kind of cool factor is, you're like, oh, only 10% of people are making it through. Well, that's a 10% very engaged audience that watched your entire video. That's a big deal. And so you can, sometimes with longer videos, they're just going to naturally get less engagement, especially the more you scale, because they're going to go out to the masses, and you're just not going to find, the majority of the people watching them, but you're going to find the minority of the group watching the full thing. So it's sometimes you can look at little numbers and say like, oh, only 5%. You'd be like, that was 1 million. Oh, okay. That's a good video. So
talk to me about budget just a little bit. Like, you've got your video, you've got your target, or you're not going to target. We're going to go broad the way you're mentioning earlier. How much do people have to spend?
Well, and I don't want to give bad advice. And so you have to.
Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. I usually try to not give bad advice. But I want to make like a generalized statement and say like, oh, I'll try that. It really depends on your CTA. And what I mean by that is, if you're gonna spend, let's say, I would say start with at least $200 a day. Good rule of thumb is whatever your target CPA you want it to be, 20x your budget. That's what is that's the rule. So if your target CPA, I'm just going to say, is like, $10, you need to spend, what's 20x of 10? Is that $2,000?
Yep. So
you need to spend $2,000 a day. That's where YouTube will really shine. Now, you don't need to start there though, and this is what I mean by I need to kind of wrangle back the conversation a little bit so it doesn't just take that golden rule and run with it. Start with a smaller budget on maximize conversions first. Unless you have like the 5 to 10 grand a day, then you can jump right into target CPA. But if you are running a True View for Action campaign and you are wanting to scale into something that's good, start with a smaller budget of $200 to $500 a day. Run maximize conversions, and what that's going to do is your CPA your CPA is going to be high because you're running a maximized conversion. Google's just going to say, I'm going to find anybody that is ever interested ever, and I'm going to get them to convert, but they're going to spend a lot of money doing that. And you're purposely limiting your budget so you don't take a $5,000 budget like per day, hit maximize conversions, find out that your CPA is $120 when in reality it actually could be $30. But it's just because the bidding strategy is artificially raising that because it's a saturation effect. It's going after anybody it thinks. So limit the budget at $500 a day. Get a good 20 to 30 conversions. Then you can actually flip on target CPA, stick the $5,000 per day budget on there. But start your target CPA 50% over what you need it to be. So as an example,
give it room to breathe.
Yeah, and actually
$10 conversions, I need $200 a day. 10,
What's
20x. If I need $10 conversions and I have to do $200 a day, right?
Yeah, you can do $200 a day. Start with maximize conversions. Get conversion data first, and that's the thing is, if you want to grow into something, you need maximize conversions, regardless of what the cost per acquisition is coming at a time, you're buying that you're investing into that campaign. That's what that money is being used for right now. You're investing into getting data into Google so that when you flip over to Target CPA, it has somewhere to go. It already has something to base its guidance on. Without having conversions, Target CPA doesn't necessarily work too well on YouTube because just like, well, will this person convert in under X amount of dollars? I don't know. Maybe I just won't run. Maximize conversions is like, will this person convert? I don't know, but I don't have a limitation, so try it. Yeah, exactly. So maximize conversions is an expansive bidding strategy. Target CPA is a restrictive bidding strategy. And that's what's kind of cool is you can grow into a $5,000 per day budget, starting with $500 a day for simply a week, and then flip on $5,000 in your daily budget. And if you needed $25 conversions, put that up to like 40 or possibly even $50 target CPA. Let it get there, and then go from 50 down to 45. The next day, go from 45 down to 40. The next 2 days, go from 40 down to 35. And you'll see that it'll start to scale and get cheaper conversions as it starts to grow. And you'll grow into that $5,000 per day per budget, and you will get as many conversions as possible in that $5,000. You might spend 3 or 4. You might spend 5. But it'll get you as many as possible with that $5,000 ceiling for your target CPA.
Got it. That's helpful. That's actually super actionable. Normally, when I ask people about budgets, they don't get that specific. So, people, if you're watching this, you have no excuse now. Just kidding. We're on the half-hour mark, which I think is probably a good place to stop. I appreciate you hopping in here, man. And,
Yeah.
Would love to have you back as often as is possible. Anytime Ralph jumps ship, you're going to be my go-to.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
And if you're watching this, we do this every Friday, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Would love to have you all here. Ask your questions, lob them across the fence. This is how we decide the topics for Perpetual Traffic. So this ends up being the tip of the spear as far as the marketing discussion is concerned.
Awesome.
Appreciate having y'all. Thanks, John, for being here.
Thank you.